We're starting now, so do you want to say hello? We can do YouTube start now.
Hello! I am Kurt. This is Darren. We are here as part of Team Adderstone Games, developing a facing guide to Avallen on stream. If you're here, I don't know who's here, because I'm still opening up that second window to see who's here. I'm assuming Zilphia is here. Is Zilphia here?
You assume correctly. Zilphia is here.
Wonderful. Zilphia, how are you? Always wonderful to have you around.
The other folk are lurking. And that's cool too.
We appreciate you lurking. Lurk away if you want to just hang out. So it's been a week since we talked. Lots has happened in a week in more ways than one.
Yep.
How are you doing today,
I'm
Darren,
doing great. Lots of cool stuff to show off to the backers and the viewers. So I'm excited to do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. I want to see a lot of it, and I want to.
Yeah.
Does Chrissy have anything you're sharing today, or is it just?
Yeah. Some cool Chrissy stuff.
Okay. Well, if Chrissy wants to see it, she better watch us on stream. You know what I mean?
I mean, she's already seen it technically. She made it, so.
If she wants to see other people seeing it, then she has to join the stream.
But I'm good to get started straight away. We've got stuff to get through. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Lots of stuff. Wait, do we talk about a raid? Do we talk about the raid now or later?
Later.
Later? No, I mean we can get people hyped up for it. That's like our thing at the end of the chat, right?
Sure, but we did that at the end of the chat. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Anyway, spoiler alert. We want to try to raid someone today.
Yeah.
So stick around to help us raid someone.
Yeah, I figured it out.
What's first? So what's first?
Darren? Let me begin. First, I'm gonna put you somewhat on the spot, but not really. I want to talk about what you did in Tokyo.
Oh my goodness. So my niece, her name is Bailey, and she's studying Korea, and she's visiting us right now. She's from America and studying Korea, and she's in Japan, so she's staying in our apartment. She's in the next room. She can probably hear everything I'm saying. And so that's those are some images from TeamLabs in Tokyo, which we went to yesterday, which was quite fun. It's a science art exhibit, I guess is probably one of the best ways to describe it. We didn't get to go into everything, but we saw just about everything, and it's wonderful. If you ever visit Tokyo, please go to it. It has very otherworldly,
or anything like this. I've seen things like this in London, in LA, in Chicago. A lot of big cities have some kind of exhibit like this, where it's some kind of like interactive light or weird space experience. And from the outside, they tend to look a bit weird and like, is that really that cool? But when you're there, it really is, an otherworldly experience. Yeah.
So this thing that you see on screen right now, it's very cool. You get to draw something, and then they scan it, and then it enters the sort of ecosystem of drawings.
Oh, cool.
So it's very cool. Now Chrissy got mad at me when I did this.
Because your drawings were inadequate?
Well, I did a snake, and I wrote on it, Epstein didn't kill himself.
Bruh.
And she thought that was very inappropriate for a children's exhibit, which I agree with.
I think so too, yeah.
So of course I changed it to make sure it was family friendly. So I changed it to Epstein didn't Skrillex himself, which is technically true also.
Sure.
He has never Skrillexed himself. And so they put the snake in, and there's a white snake slithering around that says Epstein didn't Skrillex himself, because I changed it to Skrillex.
We're talking about a wonderful, otherworldly, multimedia experience you had, and you just have to ruin it within 2 sentences.
No, but it was so cool.
It was so cool,
It captured text so well. It was wonderful. It's like I was very impressed by its ability to capture text, and I was very impressed by the technology. Yeah. Also, people need to know the truth. Now, also, and the water exhibit was our favorite, everyone's favorite. So you have to like take off your shoes, and you roll up your pant legs, and you wade through chlorinated water. To start with, it's very clever. You go up this slope, and it's like a stream. It's like a chlorinated stream. And that's how they basically, disinfect everyone's feet before you go into this like exhibit barefooted.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely gorgeous. It's very beautiful. That room is very cool. It's like a giant room where you sit in the middle of it and all the flowers fly by. That's a room with like giant balls that you can push around, so to speak. Yeah, makes for great pictures, makes for a great experience. It's inspiring because it's sort of marrying art with engineering in a very engaging way. It makes you feel a little bit like it's like an adult playground in a lot of ways, right? It makes you feel like you're a kid again, exploring something new. And
would you say that it brought you closer to Avallen's Otherworld?
It felt otherworldly. It felt like, okay, like when you read stories about the otherworld, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from the point of view of bards and storytellers from a low technology standpoint, and how things are very fantastical, which is why the fairies would help you with your chores and all this stuff, right? Because that's amazing. But what I loved about this exhibit is it felt mystical and otherworldly in a way that.
Wait, Zilphia says that you could have done advertising for LOA instead of writing your conspiracy theories on a fish.
That's a good point. Well, yeah, okay. Well, next time, opportunity missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time.
Anyway, sorry, you're talking about the birds.
Yeah, no. But this experience of encountering something that you couldn't really conceive of on your own and feels ethereal and malleable and full of whimsy. That's something that we should never forget about trying to capture in our writing and the games that we play, right? Because that's what they felt centuries ago. It's not just the pure details of what's happening. It's that feeling that you get when you encounter something strange and bewildering and filled with mysticism. And that's kind of what TeamLabs feels like when you enter it for the first time. So that's my take on it. It's very cool. Especially if you don't know anything about it, and like I didn't look. I only know a little bit about it from pictures from other friends who have visited on Instagram, and you see it on people's Instagrams and feeds every so often. But yeah, 10 out of 10 would do again. It's also not too far from Disneyland, so if you're up in Tokyo, you could do like that and then like Disneyland the next day or something.
Yeah, awesome, cool. All right, so that's dope and sweet. And then swiftly moving on. Next stream announcement, I guess, is the Everyday Dragons magazine. This is a magazine that's being created by a dear friend of Adderstone Games. She runs Cantrips Media, who once did a review for Against the Fairy Queen. That's how we first got in touch with each other. And then she reached out to me to do an interview for her inaugural issue of her magazine. And she sent me a digital copy of the magazine, and it is bloody exceptional. It is, what is it? It's like 75 pages of content, and this is content made by other GMs and players and creators that are submitted to the magazine. It has an adventure at the end. It has loads of PC, NPC content. It has an interview with yours truly. It has other interviews, lots of content, maps, map making. And yeah, like I said, an adventure at the end, and it's huge. I'm surprised how big it is and how great it looks and how good the artwork is. There she is, Kylie. And yeah, just want to give it a shout out and link you to it. I guess I should show you where it is. And they're looking, I guess it's too late now she's looking for submissions for material and for things to publish in the next magazine. The submission deadline for the April issue is in 2 days, so you're probably going to miss that unless you got something lying around. But then there will be another one after that as well. So if you're ever interested in getting stuff published for the first time, they accept an open submissions, and it's all from small-time creators like us. So really, everyone is welcome. Yeah.
And AI-generated work is not accepted.
Yes.
So
yes.
Do not tempt yourself by trying to generate something with AI stuff in 2 days.
Yeah. So if you go to that link, and if you want a copy, you can order now, and there's PDF, and it's in physical print as well, which is really cool too. But I think they're only shipping to America. Maybe outside America, but it probably costs quite a lot of money to ship it outside of America. So that's that. Everyday Dragons magazine. It's awesome. Then very moving on. Loads of artwork to show off. I don't think I showed off much artwork last stream, and so we've got kind of like a bevy of stuff to go through. that I want to show off in stream, because I feel like I should show off everything that comes through, because why not, right? It looks awesome. Now, I highlighted everything there that's new, and now I'm going to immediately forget. So we have to try and remember all of these, but we'll figure it out together. Use your photographic memory, Kurt. You got that right?
Well, I just took a screenshot and then.
Cool, that works. Okay, so first, this is Chrissy Diggs VF. I think we've seen sketches for this before, but we didn't see the final version yet. And here is the final version, and it is cool. There's a background for it.
Hey.
This is a creature from Scottish folklore that hasn't really had many illustrations done for it. So this is one of the few that exist out there now, which is super awesome. And these are water-based creatures that probably have some kind of society. They can talk, but they prey on humans that lurk near waters inside the Otherworld, essentially. Yeah, and it's really cool.
He looks like he listens to My Chemical Romance. That's what I like about him.
Cool.
He's my favorite band. Now,
yeah.
How are they different from, like, what's their main difference from, say, like like a merfolk type or a Morrigan type creature?
That's a great question, Kurt. Not much. There's barely anything written about these things. All we know is that they hunt fishermen, and they just generally look different. They have fur, so they're likely mammalian, which is somewhat different, I guess. But they're not Celtic. They're not like otter folk or things like that. But really, no, there's not much to say about them, except they live in the water and they kill fishermen. They have that. I mean, that's why there's so few illustrations of them. They have yellow fur. They have white manes. They kill fishermen. That's everything pretty much that's written about them. So that's what we have to go off. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good job, Chrissy.
Yeah. Good job, Chrissy.
Good job, Chrissy.
And then
good job, Chrissy.
We had this work in progress last time, and now we have the final version for it, which is great. These are the illustrations for the Penavunk land. We have the storytelling here, which is obviously a key part of their culture, and everyone's wearing the Penavunk masks, which look dope. And they have all the colourful dyes on their outfits that are drawn from the otherworldly flowers that they have access to, and corals and things like that, which is super cool. And I just like this illustration in general. It's great. And it shows them living on an island. It's just everything that I could want from a Penavunk illustration, really. And then we have the adventure side, which is an audience with Shuin Khan Shinshir, the disciple of the Elder in the Penavunk lands, the Queen. And yeah, just more cool stuff.
I like the additions to their costuming, which I don't think were there, or maybe they were in colored before.
Yeah, no. I made a note to the artist, like, can you make the costumes look more regal? Can you make them look more buff? Like, literally make them more muscular, and make them more look like soldiers. Yeah, and then add the glowing corals and things like that to make it look more like special and stuff. So yeah, so another cool illustration. Hopefully she looks somewhat intimidating and foreboding. Love the talk around her neck. I love the way her dress lies as well. It just looks great. So yeah, that's that.
Cool. Good stuff.
Then we have so much to get through.
Yeah.
We then have let's do the Ever Elder. This is in the work in progress stage, still not done. This is Raphael. I can't remember if I showed off the sketches yet or not. But if not, we'll shoot through them. So here's the different sketches that we did. I had this. Because the Ever Elder is a goddess of duality, so she has a side of her that's beautiful and a side of her that's horrible, which reflects like the horror of truths and the beauty of truth as well. And the original illustration we had was for a playing card, so it naturally had two versions to it, one horrible and one beautiful. But now we wanted to show a more realized image of the Ever Elder, and I wondered how one might show that duality. So I had three ideas. One was to have her like literally split in half, where one side is like jagged and withered, and then one side was more beautiful or perfect. Another one was to have literally two representations of her, and one be more of a puppet master. I was actually really inspired by this illustration that I found. which is kind of like this idea of there's something beautiful and something horrible behind it. I really like this.
That's the that's that fish, right?
Yeah, it kind of
like
is like the fish, but not really. It's weird. They have the fish thing on her head, and then there's that thing as well. And it's kind of weird how they're not connected. It feels like they had an idea there, but didn't quite go through with it. But yes, exactly that idea essentially. Anyway, so he did this, which wasn't kind of right in the ballpark for what I wanted, but you'll see what happens next. And then the other idea was to have a reflection. So she's beautiful here, and then in the water reflected. But Raphael didn't quite nail that either, because he kind of made them connected instead of it's like under the water, which is still fine. Like that's an idea that can be done. And that was I used. Oh, I don't know the references for that. Anyway, in the end, I ended up like saying, "Hey, I think this idea is the best idea, but you haven't really quite pulled it off here. Can we try something else instead?" And so then we started going with this kind of thing where the dark version is kind of like looming above and looking like puppeteering, and then the beautiful version's in the light below. And that's kind of where we went. And then this is where we're at the moment, but not quite there yet. So I'm super excited for this one. I think it's a different, an interesting idea. What do you think?
It's a very fun idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a very fun idea. I think, like, how do you imagine they would be connected if you're going with the anglerfish?
I don't think they're physically connected. I think that
metaphysically connected.
I think you might meet her, and then there will be deep waters behind her and shadows, and you might not ever meet her, but she's always there. And then sometimes when she wants to reveal herself, she might come forward, and that would be a horrifying experience, kind of thing. So I'm imagining.
Sure. Yeah. No, I love the idea. I think he's. I mean, in the process of it, it looks very cool. So, good job, Raphael.
Yeah, and then we have.
Do you know? Morgan. Okay.
Yeah, we had. I think we showed off sketch versions of this last time, but now these are final versions. We have a Tale with Tag of the Other Elder here, looking all lovely. Then we have the like Kelpie version of the Fae, which looks cool and otherworldly.
We saw that one last time. Yeah. That looks like something from Planet TeamLabs in Tokyo.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Damn it! I should have drew a Kelpie.
Yeah, and then we have Mal Tale with Teague, like a warrior Poseidon type like character. The warriors for the Ever Elder, because sometimes you have to fight. And then we have the actual Morgan, who's gifting a treasure from the seas to a hero who knows if it's actually beneficial or not, or whether it's a curse. Draw it and find out, I guess. Yeah. So stuff's awesome. Then
she's handing out. She's handing out. Was it? What's the quote from Monty Python Holy Grail? Swords found in lakes is not a system of government.
Yeah, deciding governance. Yeah. Yeah. Was it, no, a watery tart bestowing swords from lakes is no system for determining governance, something like that, or authority.
Yeah.
And then this is super awesome as well. This is more Chrissy Diggs. The previous art was Geraldo. This is Chrissy. And this is also awesome. This is an Adar Llwch Gwyn. These are... That literally translates to Adar is bird, Llwch is dust, and Gwyn is wine. So it's bird dust wine, or dust wine bird. Yeah. And I've interpreted that to mean that the birds are so big, maybe that they lift up dust when they fly. But also I decided that they should have like a dust kind of grey colour to them, and then the red wine as well as is the Gwyn, because I can't imagine else why they'd be called wine birds. Just probably the colour, right? And this is interesting here. We can discuss this. This is an illustration by the late great J.R.R. Tolkien.
Oh yeah.
And this is an illustration of his giant eagles. And everyone in all the wiki pages I can find attributes these eagles somewhat loosely to Odin's birds, and or a symbolism of one of the saints from Christianity. And I think they're all wrong. I think he took this from Welsh mythology. I think he was inspired by the Avallen as well, because they are also giant birds. Most giant birds are griffins. Like if you search for giant birds, in fact, even the Avallen are sometimes translated as griffin in the text, because it's the closest thing to a mythological bird in Western canon, right? But they're not griffins. They are birds that are huge. And in Middle-earth, there are birds that are huge, and they save the day and save the heroes, and they can carry people on their backs. And I think they were inspired by the Welsh legend, but no one's mentioned that anywhere. So there's no evidence for it, but I don't see any evidence against it either. So, yeah.
What story are they in?
What, the Avallen?
Yeah.
They're in one tale. And in the story, the other key part about them is they're smart. They can understand language, which is another key thing that the Middle-earth eagles share with them. The story goes that they were created by a prince's otherworldly wife. All these princes seem to have otherworldly wives. And she made these giant birds for him in battle because he was going to fight King Arthur. A great battle indeed. And in his pep talk to his giant eagle birds, he told them to kill the first man that enters the battlefield in like a blood frenzy and just like, leave none behind. And then of course, the man himself was too eager to fight, and he was the first person to charge into the battle, and then the birds killed him. So, yeah, so goes the story. So yeah, excited for this illustration a lot.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Sorry. So it is in the Mabinogion. It's mentioned in the Mabinogion.
Yeah, and we know that Tolkien was familiar with that stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Well, you gotta turn that into a clip, and we're gonna put that on YouTube Shorts and tell everyone you're wrong about thinking it's Odin's bird. Idiots. You can leave the idiots out.
Yeah.
But or leave it in, depends.
Yeah.
But good research. But
then we still have more illustrations to go. We have a sketch. Our map artist has returned, and the sketch is not here, so I can't show it. Curses. Let me see if I can find it here quickly. Face Seeker, art, map, work in progress. Here we go. Cool. Our map artist is back, and this is just a sketch. This is nowhere near file and detailed, but this is an adventure site for the Pen Lands, a watery cove. This is a tidal cove, so the whole place gets flooded at high tide, and it's accessible during low tide. So you have a limited time that you can be in there for. And their idea is that there are pools that have watery tunnels in them that you have to swim through to get to other sections of the cave, where you can find awesome things like crystals, treasures. Nothing's in here, but I guess that's a red herring, or you can put something in there as a GM. And then there's a spot here where people are living as well. And so the idea that these are spaces that you can use that we don't feel completely, that the GM can add their own ideas to and make adventures from. So that's the intent behind the GM section and the adventure site ideas. And it looks great, right? So excited for that as well. Then I think we have two more. We have some more sketches from Geraldo. I'm very excited for these ones. These are the Fae of the Everstranger. First is a simple will-o-wisp, little spirits that guide you through the swamps if you're lost, or perhaps lead you astray to your death. And then we have like the mean-spirited version of that Fae, which is a ghost that just deliberately tries to terrify you. Now, actually, this is the only thing I gave him feedback on, was that we do have ghosts in Avallen that represent spirits that don't know that they're spirits, and they're haunting places and trying to get back to their humanity. And my critique of this, feedback on this illustration, was that she looks like she's terrified herself, which suggests that she doesn't understand the circumstance that she's in, right? Which is, this is exactly the look that I would want for those ghosts, the ones that don't know that they're dead, the ones that cling to humanity and try and hold in places. But this is not what I want for the mean-spirited ghosts. These Fae are deliberately trying to scare you, right? So she should look deliberately menacing as opposed to accidentally so. So that's the only feedback I gave on these illustrations.
Okay.
Then we have a female Talwith Taig of the Everstranger, and she's basically like a Valkyrie, like a battle maiden. and she is a ghost. She's a spirit that protects heroes of battle and guides them around in the other world and sends them to where they need to be. So she looks badass and awesome. And then we have a male tail with Teague, and I think kind of mentioned in your text like a Raven Lord or something like that, and I imagine that's going to be this guy basically. He's got raven feet and he has ravens about him, and he's just a dark-looking tail with Teague character. That looks cool.
Very dark elfish. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Then one more final illustration. Like I said, there's loads.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. Oh, the Pencolor Lands. Yes, you saw sketches of this last time, and now. Oh no, I wanted to show you the final version. These are I made edits. Sometimes I make edits illustrations to change some things. That is one of those times. Pencolor Lands. Is this it? Yeah, here we go. So this is awesome. On the left side, why can't I zoom in? Not zoom. Hello? Okay, now I can zoom in. On the left side, we have a hill fort, perhaps Dunham, I'm not sure yet. The edits I made was like adding the smoke and adding some paths in places, otherwise it was grass. But wanted to look inhabited. This is a big place, and there's people going there to market or whatever. So it's just a cool set piece showing what the Pencolor Lands are like. That's what they're like. And on the right hand side, we have a cattle raid in progress. Last time these had like fences around them, but now you can actually see a chariot driving the cattle off, which is more of what you imagine. And in the background, there's a henge on a hilltop, which looks really cool as well. And this is like some of the first real illustrations we have of like Pencolor culture and stuff, which always makes me excited. So yeah.
Are the for the purposes of this illustration, are the two chariots part of the same raiders,
yes,
or are they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. And they could be from another Pencolor tribe, right?
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And that's it for all the illustrations. Isn't that loads?
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I actually took some advice from Historical Arcanum, our friends at Historical Arcanum. Remember, we reviewed the Kickstarter way back when, and they reacted to it.
Yeah.
I spoke to one of the guys there, and he was like, yeah, as soon as the money comes in, just make as many illustrations as quickly as possible as you can to help with layouting ASAP. And then once all the illustrations come in, then you can just focus more on just doing the book. So I'm just trying to get as many illustrations done as possible, as soon as possible. And so it's taken up quite a lot of my time at the moment, writing briefs for all this stuff, but obviously it needs to get done, and the sooner the better, so that's what's happening. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds like advice, and you're getting a lot of cool pieces in.
Yeah, man.
Will we have as many next week, you think?
No. No,
okay.
No, this is like 2 weeks worth, I think, really, because I didn't show enough any last week, really.
I got you.
Then there's other quick news update for work progress is that I've finished the rules text for the playtest document that will be sent out for the Face Seekers. And this is rules for all of the Face Seeker abilities, how to become a Face Seeker, and then for the Game Master, how to adjudicate Face Seekers pledging for Fey packs, how to use fairy tricks as it relates to Face Seekers and fairy tricks and adventures in general, and how to interpret fairy tricks. And then I've also done over half of the fairy trick ideas. I realised though that maybe I shouldn't do all of them. That first of all, it might be a waste of time because there's enough there to play test with and have fun with and see if people resonate with it or not. And then also, I want to tie the fairy tricks into the artwork as well a little bit. And I don't have all the artwork yet, so I'm just writing down fairy tricks that inspire me or sound interesting. But I think a lot of them will change, so I've kind of stopped it. I think I've done like 45 or 50 of 78, so most of them really, but a lot of them will change, I think. So that's all done, and then next week I plan to put that into some kind of PDF, and that will go out in, hopefully, it should do, I don't see why not now because everything's done, I just need to layout it. That will go out in the next update in February, and I need to make a playtest form for it as well, so that people can give us feedback. I'm most actually keen to see if there's things people don't understand. That's the most important thing, really. And then if they think anything's broken as well, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Now I am breaking up. I don't know if I'm breaking up.
Sound
Or
good
if
to
you're
me.
breaking up. Okay, good. Okay, good. So yeah. So it was very choppy. I missed the last bit you said, but it has to do with the playtest packet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just saying
Setting
that
it up.
I want people to give us feedback mostly on what they don't understand, if there's anything that isn't
What they
clear.
don't understand. Okay,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Just like I did there when the stream was choppy and
Yeah,
and I
perfect.
wasn't exactly sure what was being said. So that's
Yeah,
important, that
yeah,
we practice what we preach.
yeah. And then we have one last thing before we get stuck into actual stream content. Because I've been talking a lot, I'm going to hand it over to Kurt in a second. But we got a comment on our last stream, which we love when that
Hey.
happens. And here is the comment on YouTube. And they responded to when we asked for sounding off in the comments, and that was way towards the end of the stream. So we know they listened to all of it, which was really great. And they said, my opinion, and this is when we asked in the comments, was this stream interesting? Last stream, we recapped all of the locations that we have for the Penkawa lands in the lore at the moment, for our own benefit, to remind ourselves to categorize everything, and so that we know where to build off of for this book, right? That's what we did. And then I just felt like we were just recapping stuff and just chronicling things as opposed to creating stuff. Usually we create stuff on stream. And so I wondered out loud, is this interesting to anyone? Zulfia said yes, but Zulfia always says yes, God bless her. Or ever, mother bless her.
Our constant listener.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Staunch supporter.
And so this comment responded to sound off in the comments. My opinion is that all this is very interesting. Yay!
Yay!
It's super interesting seeing you get into the nitty gritty and deal with the continuity and making sure everything still fits together without any issues. I also like hearing the little Easter eggs. So, cool. Right?
Yeah.
So, thanks to this comment, that's what we're going to do again this stream, basically.
I'm down. And we did Pen Hour last time, right?
Yep, so now we need to pick another clan.
I want to choose the Pen of Ankh because I am currently working on the Pen of Ankh stuff and their secrets and all that stuff. And it will be useful for me to talk it over with you on stream and go over things and do some ideation.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, there was a thought about that though, is that I spoke to Jasmine and she's currently halfway through doing her Pen Durike Face Seeker stuff. And then she's going to be able to do secrets as well. And I asked her if there's a second clan that you would work on, which would it be? She said Pen of Ankh. So if you want to do other clans as priority, and then the Pen of Ankh is like the middle clan, depending on how you guys meet each other from either end, then we could do that. Thoughts? How far, if we say do a different clan instead, are you dropping a lot of content that you've already got through, or is it fine to
not necessarily. I mean, it's just stuff that you've written that we've talked about already.
Yeah.
But it's not like polished yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with doing a different section, and possibly then, since Jasmine she's working on the Pendrag, right?
Yeah.
But I wrote the Pendrag adventure in the last book.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe it would make sense for us to talk about the Pendrag today.
Yeah. Sure, why not? I mean, I want to talk about all of them eventually, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the Pendrag...
Oh, yeah, my intent was to do one that you would definitely work on, basically. So we've done the
it might not
Penkawa.
definitely work.
She'll do that. I think she wants to do the Pendrag for all of the sections. Like, that's what she's doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. But you're just giving her an option on the other ones. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, then I don't necessarily have a preference.
Yeah.
But I would say probably either Pen Bides, because that seems like it could be challenging, or Pen Levi, because we have a lot of that stuff too, and I really like the...
Yeah, Pen Levi's your clan. Like, that's the one that you... Actually, it's funny, actually. Jasmine told me she was reading through the Face Seeker stuff that was already written so that she knew how to structure the Face Seeker stuff she's writing now, right? And she asked me, she said, Kurt wrote all of this, right? And I said, yeah. And then she said, I can tell that the Pen Levi is his favourite clan, and that the Penkawa is his second favourite clan, is what she said.
Is that true?
I think it is. I think you really like the Penkawa. You like the Everchild a lot, you like the duality to them.
I do. I think I like the Pen of Ankh a lot. I think I like Pen of Ankh a lot too because they're weird.
Yes. Yeah. I said that too. To be fair. Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
let's
okay
do.
with
I think we do the Pen Levi because that's the one that we did first of all the other ones as well. To be fair, it's a good jumping off point, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that I felt like a magician there. I kept asking you for your opinion and then guiding you down to a different answer. Not intentionally, but that's how it went. How it went down. You know, that's what magicians do
Sure.
sometimes. They're
You
like,
mean a
"Oh, that's
manipulator?
not actually
Like
the answer that you really want. You want this answer instead," and that helps
you
me
mean
do my
a
magic trick.
manipulator? Like
Yeah.
all magicians are.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So how are we starting with this? So we're gonna start by looking in.
I like picking like a location and then spreading out from there. So you can pick the first location, and then we can
Sure, well,
spread
the
out.
first location. Well, if we're using the book location.
If you want to, yeah.
Looking at the book. Obviously, there's Loch Leovon makes sense because that's like the sort of central. What do you call it? The big fort on the borderlands.
Okay. Cool.
And I wrote a.
Let's do it.
Also, it has a poem that we wrote, or that I wrote, or whoever wrote in
you're right.
and big figures, and that kind of summarized Loch Leovon. Let me see if I can find it here. So I wrote a pithy three-punt, which is a poetic form, like a short poetic form, in Against Fairy Queen.
Yeah, I've got it up
and
on the screen now.
Yeah, is it up there?
Yeah.
Can you recite it for us in your wonderful accent?
Sure. When Loch Leovon was a lush field of green, our people lived to love.
Oh.
Huh?
No. Oh no, that's Rush of the Dead. The next poem. That mentions Loch Leovon, but the second poem is about Loch Leovon.
Oh, my bad. Yep. Okay, my bad. Yep. Okay. While strange elite gather in seats, traders too meet at Loch Leovon. When you're in need of goods and greed, then please proceed to Loch Leovon. When you awake, hope for your sake, life's not at stake in Loch Leovon.
Yeah, so this kind of summarizes the kind of the black market nature of Loch Leovon and trying not to end up on as a something for sale and something that can be taking advantage in Loch Leovon.
So slavery is shunned in Avallen by the gods and by the Raxians as well, but it still happens. And Loch Leovon is known as a place where there are no rules, anything can go, and so it's one of the few places in Avallen where you can almost guarantee that you can trade in people as well as goods. Yeah.
People, goods, things, organs, whatever. Well, I mean, organ stealing probably isn't as much a thing in the Iron Age, but I guess. I mean, for as curiosities or spells and other superstitions, most likely, yeah. And then in the book, we don't actually have a section on Loch Leovon except talking about it in terms of the leadership section. No, we do. I mean, we talk about it in the leadership section because it's where all the tribes the Gathering of Stranger happens.
Yeah, so let's look at the map quickly. I'm just going to look at that. So we're talking about the Pen Levi clan, there are Swamp Clan, and what's notable about them is twofold. One, the nomadic peoples and raiders, they don't have any really forts, towns, or villages except Loch Leovon. Loch Leovon is the only primary settlement in all the lands. And it's not really a settlement in that it's inhabited by the tribespeople. Instead, it's more of a multicultural black market hub where everyone goes to trade from all over Avallen. And the other thing that's interesting about the Pen Levi is that they have no Bredenin. They have no king or queen that leads them, except in times of unified war, in which case they elect a Bredenin for that war, and that election happens between the tribe elders at Loch Leovon. And that is the significance of Loch Leovon. So yes, what do we mention about it in the book? Leovon. And we've never been there. We didn't go there in the adventures of Against the Fairy Queen. And I would like to get an illustration of it at some point. That's on my to-do list, my wish list.
Right.
If I have extra budget.
It was originally part of one of your art briefs, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was an idea in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So luckily, what did we say about it? Yeah, you're right. We don't have a section on it specifically, do we? Yeah, we just talk about it.
But we do talk. The leadership section is kind of the luckily about section, so it talks a lot about it. Specifically about the gathering of strangers, what you mentioned about them nominating a Breyer for war. The sort of weird structure of it, where it's just a massive roundhouse fort in the waters, and with a single bridge, and then the warriors kind of guard it. If anyone wants to take advantage of the temporary weakness of concentrated power, where all the tribes gather together. And then where the bridge of the Cranog meets the shore, there is an outpost, where there's the collection of hovels and merchant stalls and scavengers and raiders and traders. So that kind of happens throughout the year.
It's always a bustling trading hub, but
outside of the main.
Yeah.
So this is like the one big main structure that the Pen Levi have, and it's kind of a communal giant castle structure.
I think it's kind of funny and interesting that it's quite possible that there's probably more members of other clans at Loch Leovan than there are Pen Levi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily go inside. We haven't established how the Cranog is maintained throughout the year. If tribes take turns, like...
Yeah, they might pass through and do something, or they just might not maintain it. I like the idea of like the disrepair amongst the Pen Levi, and then they fix it up when they need it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure, and possibly but it still preserves itself. It's still something that's useful. So, and also the tribes come together for the Feast of the Muklevi, right?
Yeah, but that's not necessarily there. That's just in general.
But that's not at Loch Leovan per se.
Yeah.
Although
Although I imagine if some tribes were nearby, they'd probably go there because.
Yeah, exactly.
Might not take advantage. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'd say we go north quickly and go to Llwch Pass, which I will include in the Pen Levi section just because there's probably loads to talk about in the Pen Draig section. Whereas by their nature, the Pen Levi don't have many notable locations. Although maybe we want to invent some because that's something we can do because we are creators of this world, right?
Sure.
So Llwch Pass, if you've been paying attention, have you been paying attention, Kurt?
I am paying attention. Yes.
Do you know what Llwch means?
It's wasn't that the bird's name?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Is it gray?
Yeah, kinda. I interpreted it. Dust. That's it, dust. Yeah, you got it. It translates as dust.
Look,
Yeah. See, you have been paying attention. What a good student. A good
sure.
collaborator.
Of Welsh words.
Yeah.
I can't say any of them, but I'm trying. Oh, thank you, Sophia. Loch Leovan sounds like an awesome place. Yeah, it's weird and dark. And interesting.
So Llwch Pass. I swear I mentioned it somewhere, but maybe I haven't. I've always interpreted it as like this is a pass that obviously leads into the Pen Draig mountain range, right? It's like how the Pen Levi, one of the ways the Pen Levi gain access to their lands for their raiding excursions, right? So there has to be a way for them to get in and also a choke point. And it makes me wonder why the Pen Draig don't just fortify it to stop them from raiding. I suppose that the Pen Levi, maybe it's part of Pen Levi territory, so they can't. And it would be an act of war to do that. The Pen Levi stopped them from doing it, I guess must be the reason. That's why it's in the Pen Levi section in the book. Maybe that makes sense.
You do recall we do talk about the what's the correct pronunciation again? Llwch Pass?
Yeah, that's good enough, yeah.
We do mention it somewhere though. Do you recall where? Now I'm putting you on the spot.
Is it against the Fairy Queen?
No.
Okay, well I've searched for it on here and nothing came up. But I know we obviously mentioned it was something to do with the birds. That's what I was going to move on to next.
No. It's. I could be mistaken. I have to look at my documents again. But I am fairly certain, and correct me if I'm mistaken. Don't we mention it in our recent Faith Seekers guide preview document?
Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't think to check there. Maybe we did.
Yeah. Please check that because I believe.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well done, Kurt. Nice.
And what does it say? And what does it say?
The Oath Skull of Uradek is stashed away in a secret cave near Hluk Pass. So we just use it as a reference point. And yeah, that's it. This rare item is in a cave near there. Yeah. Let me see if it's in here anywhere. I don't think it is. No. And then here, it's just. Yeah. Oh, we mentioned it here. It's actually, I lied. So why doesn't that come up in my search results? If I type in pass, or it is coming up. It just wasn't. Maybe it's taken too long to search for. So yeah, we mentioned here as well that the Adal Gwyn or Dusk Eagles are legendary great wizened birds that roam the dark skies of the Otherworld and the mountains of Avallen near Hluk Pass. So I say that's part of the
the reason why they're not trying to go there that often because they don't want to look around and find out.
True. Yeah. This is so let's just say here Pen Levi access point to Pen Levi lands for raiding. However, Adar Duke Gwyn are frequently sighted there and are dangerous. So it's just dangerous to go through there because of these giant birds that may eat you if you don't answer the riddles. So that's cool. Okay, nice.
Look, that's we made a connection. The answer was there, and we just had to connect the dots.
Okay, cool. Okay, now Kuana Shinshir, that's technically Penavunk territory.
That's right.
So we'll leave that now. So I guess we'll go to Aird Barrens next. Aird Barrens.
I don't think we talk about that in the book, do we?
I think it's just like the name of a region, because again, the Pen Levi don't have many places or landmarks, although we might add some. I think it's just the name of a place that they came up with to give them something on the map, basically.
Now we've also established that.
Oh no, it's mentioned somewhere.
Established.
Oh, we just mentioned it in context of Kuana Shinshir. It's just yeah, okay.
The Aird Barrens, yeah, sure. Now, some things to know about the lands of the Penavunk that differ from its potential historical counterparts in the real world is that the Pen Levi's lands were fucked over long ago by a creature known as the Muklevi, which poisoned large chunks of the land upon its death and in a magical way. And things, you can still survive there, and they do because it's their cultural homeland, but it's tough going, which is why they're a nomadic tribe.
Yeah, the land is not arable.
Yeah. So the question are the Aird Barrens part of that curse? Because they're less dark.
Yeah.
But is it still under the sway of that curse, or is it just they're just barons, or is it kind of like weaker there? I
think the fact that I still called them barons made me think that my intention was that still nothing grows there for some reason, right? Now, Aird is Old Irish for peak, point, compass, quarter, direction. Is there anything else? Where did I get this word from? Peak or point of a compass, direction point, heed, attention. Does it mean anything else in the other language? Irish? No. Ard, hillock, top, high part. Interesting. So that doesn't really help too much. So we don't really have anything about here, so we can do anything we want, really. The fact that it still says barons, does barons mean anything other than to be baron? Let's find out.
Yeah.
Barons.
Also, barons specifically as a reference point to, is there an equivalent in the UK that you can point to as something?
Right.
Like the Moors.
UK, the barons.
Yeah, I know there's the Moors, like the Bodmin Moor. Was it Bodmin Moor in Cornwall is one that comes up? Mm-hmm. And there's still there's light vegetation on moorland still, or can be. But there's also the desert of Wales.
Yes, yeah. I think that might inspire it somewhat. But no, it doesn't look like it really. Okay, so this is really free reign for us, really. All we got to know is that it might be somewhat hilly, judging by the name Aird, or maybe it's just the peak of the Pen Levi lands. That's what we meant from it. Maybe I gave it an Irish name because it's close to the Pen Levi. I mean, sorry, the Pen of Unk. All we just know is that it is a barren plains. I think part of it was to give the Pen Levi at least more than one environment. They have kind of three, right? They have the swamps, they have the Bay of the Atherin, and the coastline, because they're quite good sailors as well, really. And then they have these barren plains up here, I guess. And that's all we have, so that's just free for us to come up with in the future. For this book, I guess. We should put some stuff there. Don't know what we put there, but we should put some stuff there. Maybe that's a good place to put some of the ruins and things like that, because it's hard to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the important thing is like you said, that there's a good reason why a tribe wouldn't stick around for that long, right? Because they are supposed to be nomadic, and so I think it has to align with that largely. But it's kind of tricky because if you make it too hostile, why go there at all?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's partially arable and settleable, then why wouldn't they just stay there for a long time?
Part of the inspiration for this location will probably be nomadic peoples like the Mongols, right? They drive animals from pasture to pasture because they run out of vegetation for the livestock to feed on, and also they don't want to overhunt local animals, so they keep moving around to give the environment a chance to replenish before they return back there at a different season, right? Time of year. So I imagine that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah. According to our good friend Wikipedia about the Welsh desert,
yes,
is the fact that it's a figurative use, right? Because overgrazing of sheep and human clearing destroys native temperate rainforest, and it has a high rainfall and it's covered by peat overlain with purple moor grass. And plantations of non-native conifers, and the soil tends to be acidic. So exactly what you talked about. There is a historical precedence for this in the real world. So it's still usable for grazing their cattle or their sheep and so on, but they can't
grow crops.
But because of the high rains and the crappy soil, no one's going to stay there for very long. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But you would think, though, that a lot of the tribes will kind of be grazing through that land every so often.
I don't know.
Occasionally
I think that the Pen Levi are super interesting because they are the tribe that's most disparate in all senses of the word. Because they're nomadic, obviously they don't have locations they tie themselves to. They have multiple locations that they move between frequently. But also because their environments have, I imagine that there are tribes that primarily use boating and go around the coastline, right? And that's what they do. They don't then wander inland to do things. Their nomadic lifestyle is along the coastlines, and that's what they do. Then there's going to be those that are nomadic inside the swamp, and they know the way of life there. And then I imagine there's probably different kind of tribes that are nomadic in these areas. I don't think the tribes move from the barrens to the swamps to the coastline and then back again, because that's too much stuff to be masterful over, right? And so then that leads to the Pen Levi being a group of peoples that have quite different lifestyles amongst them, whereas the Pen Drake, well, they all live in mountains, pretty much, and they all share a similar lifestyle, and same with the Pen Biden, the forests.
Right.
Whereas the Pen Levi are quite unique, and they all live in different ways, and that kind of speaks to their survivorship. And then there's a whole bunch of them as well that obviously live out of Pen Levi territory. They're the tribe that have more outside of the clanlands than any other, I think, because of the nomadic nature and because the harshness of their environment. Yeah.
Right. And how does, because it is duel too is part of their.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get there, right? We'll get there.
Yeah.
So,
but
next,
that's more like who they make tribute. That's like them making tribute to. It's like their mecca, sort of their spiritual center.
Yeah, I don't know.
For the most part.
Tribes travel there though. I don't think there's a pilgrimage. Maybe there is. Maybe But
I imagine there has to be but anyway, we could talk
well,
about
yeah,
that.
you're right. There should maybe some members of tribes pilgrimage there rather than a whole tribe. Yeah. That makes sense. There has to be some kind of connection between all of the groups, right, for information to pass, and maybe spiritual leaders of tribes have to make a pilgrimage to Inistwish, and then when that happens, there is conversations and movement between the groupings, as well as when there's a gathering of strangers at Loch Levan, obviously. And that kind of works as well, right? That means there's a gathering point in the south and a gathering point in the north, and so there's reasons for whole groups to travel.
Right.
And I guess Inistwish would be a gathering of the spiritual leaders, whereas Loch Levan would be more of a gathering of the military leaders. So there's a nice duality there too as well.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So moving south now to Cliffy Bede. I think this was your idea, Cliffy Bede.
Oh yeah, this is a weird cliff, which means a wound of the world. So it's a massive chasm of black, where water spills into it over sheer cliff into eerie silence, and no one's ever has yet to discover what lies at the bottom of its cliffs of black stone. And they sometimes use it to punish people in their tribes, traders especially, and they just throw them in the cliff. But there's not like some believe that they'll just tumble through darkness for all eternity. So we leave it kind of open as to whether it's a mystical portal or not to the other world or something weird, right?
Well, I think the idea is that it doesn't lead anywhere, right? That's the point, is that their souls are then lost from the other world, because that's why it's a punishment, right?
Right. But it could also hypothetically be a site for potential adventure, because it's so weird and unknown.
Yeah, so we actually have an illustration of Cliffy Bede, I think, that exists in Avallen, in the original book. It is...
Is that the in Journeying?
Yeah, that's right. Let's go Journeying.
What page?
No, not Journeying, it's Adventuring. But
Adventuring.
Same thing. Yeah, this illustration here. That's 2-page. I kind of had this idea that, I mean, it might not necessarily be their place, but I think it probably clearly is, right? Like, I don't know where else that would be. It is in the Pen Levi Swamps. I don't think I name it Cliffy Bede there, but I don't think I give it another name either. So I think maybe we hadn't got the name yet, but I was inspired by that idea.
In the story, it mentions that company's adventuring. It mentions that it's claimed neither by Pen Levi or the Pen of Ankh.
Wait, really? And if I wait... Oh, that's a problem. It's a liminal space... Oh, around the edge of the ravine, a liminal space claimed neither by the Pen Levi nor the Pen of Ankh. Oh, that's a shame. Why did I write that? That's annoying. Because then, I guess that implies it's somewhere else then. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be in those lands and still technically not claimed by the Pen Levi, which is true.
Yeah. But that kind of suggests to me more that it's like amongst the Isles than the north, but it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. We can move on. Yeah. But that's Cliffy Bede. Yeah, so that exists. And those kind of places, we talked about this last week, but I don't really feel there's much more to say. I feel like with the Pen Levi, we need to add more, to more locations rather than speak of the ones already. Because again, we're about to move on now to the Allure Fens, and we did say something about this place, but this is more of like a region again. I think we mentioned something about somewhere in that region.
Well, one thing we've talked about that hasn't made its way into either the core rule books is this idea that, spoiler alert, before the Sorrows and after the Wild Hunt, when the Everones ruled on Earth, it was kind of a golden age, right?
Yeah.
And that there were great cities built after the fall of the Feithra, the great monsters that ruled the planet. But once the Everones, once the Everpact was signed, and the Everstranger retreated back to the Anun,
Yeah.
That basically the curse of the Muklevi took hold again, and those became basically
that's
lost
basically
ruins.
maintained.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So that is what that illustration is.
Yeah.
That is what that illustration is. Let's go back to
Right.
it again.
In journeying, adventuring rather.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
intent of this illustration is that this is one of those locations that's like grand and couldn't be built today in Avallen. These statues, who knows where they tether down to, right? The waters are long since frozen, and this great location with this huge bridge that's now collapsed is something from a bygone era. And I think it even mentions it in the story. It says here, rumors, legends, and bardic poetry led them to seek out this temple. They finally pinpointed the location after weeks of consulting with sages, learning the tales of great prosperity that followed the wild hunt. The excitement coupled with the tantalizing mystery of why it was built and what lay inside spurred them on the hazardous adventure. But the thrill wore off as days went by. Yeah. And then, is there like a culmination? No, they're just them going down and being excited about what might lie within inside. So we never say what's inside. So
I like the idea of us developing 2 or 3 lost city locations that only the Pen Levi really know about.
Yes.
But are kind of forbidden to enter, and could also be waypoints or entry points to the other world by the nature of their pre-sorrows.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I'm just thinking about it now. Because I was thinking, what about the other clans? Well, it's quite possible the other clans still live in those places, right? Like, if Caer Dunham is this awesome capital city built upon huge earthen rampart works that have been molded by people and magic, they might have made that in that time period, and then they still live there now, right? They still maintain it. The Pen Levi live in the forest city, right? That's made from trees grown over 50 years using magic and whatnot. Maybe that was also built during this time. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of the things that we see that differ from, say, the real world Celtics is the fact that magic and gods were real, right? And that's why we're able to have these fantastical structures. Yeah. But once the gods leave and the connection's cut off, that's where it sort of devolves to its current technological states. Yeah. But some of those things are still maintained, like 4 fucking castles in the lands of the Pendrag, right?
Yeah. Those huge places on top of the mountains.
And giant tree villages. And so they might be ancient, but tradition keeps them alive. But the Pen Levi couldn't really do that because of the curse. Yeah. But I like to think of them, again, because Jasmine's right, is one of my favorite clans, or maybe my favorite clan. I love the idea of the sort of city, the lands of death, when he's sort of like in the glory of post Wild Hunt, and being a master of death, and there's this kind of weird space blurring between mortal life and immortal life, that it's like cities of immortals almost, right? Because he's the master of death, and his kingdom is in both realms. It's not, death wasn't for them what it is now. It's like heaven on earth kind of thing. So I imagine these fucking great, like similar to that illustration, these great cities of like white marble and pillar, what we imagine to be these kind of Alexandrian type settlement in the heart of the Pen, of what was now the great swamp of the Pen Levi lands. And if you try to go there, now they're just kind of dominated by regretful spirits from the sorrows and monsters that are sort of coming in through the other world. So anyway, that's my headcanon, and that's something we're putting into this book, and it's what I'm working
right?
for.
That's new to us. This idea, like, I always thought that the other clans would have these locations lost during the after the sorrows as well, but we never really talked about them or mentioned them. And then if they exist, that makes the Pen Levi places less special, right? But then if we reframe it so like, oh no, those places still exist and they're still inhabited, and the Pen Levi's places are special because they're abandoned because they can't be maintained anymore. Now that's more interesting. So for the first time, I'm going to write here under the Caer Dunham, which we went to last stream. I'm going to write, was built during prosperity after the Wild Hunt. right? That's new. We haven't said that before. So that's
No, we have that.
yeah.
That's a new idea. What things are these really? But they might also, because they are ancient, and it could be similarly, even though it's not, an absolute ruin. Maybe they can't be maintained to the same level, or whatever. There's things that could change about them over centuries, but there are things that could be hidden about them in their various lands. Yeah. Like I think in the Pencara lands, for example, there's like a insane tunnel structure under one of the forts that maybe they could do with current technology, but it could also be an ancient. It strikes me as an ancient structure that magic and the Everchild's magic might have had a hand in. And I think I think it could be a little bit of both. I think you could have things that are recognized as being important and carried on to today, but also things that after the wars happened, things fall apart, ruins occur, and they don't go back to them, which is also a thing that would have happened, right? There also would have been the sorrows that would have destroyed things in all of their respective realms, and are ripe for adventuring and rediscovery.
Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, that's exciting. I guess now that kind of helped before when I was thinking about Caer Dunham, like what else is there to say about this place? Yeah. Well, now there's a secret there, right? There might be something at its core that's been there for thousands of years that's tied to the Everchild and its founding, right? And I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That leads to excitement.
We'll uncover it.
Okay, so Allure Fens and Allure Ifros. All we say about the places is that, there is a fetid tract of the Allure Fens. So the Fens is just the Fens, basically. It's just a region that is said to be a collection of pools haunted by the spirits of an ancient Pen Levi druidic sect. Legends say that the sect drowned themselves in a foul ritual in order to gain eternal dominion over the water's clairvoyant properties. It's believed that every harvest moon, the spirits congregate once again to tell nearby listeners the names of all who will die in the coming year. This annual ritual is a closely guarded secret by priests of the Pen Levi, and other clans speculate that they use the ritual to decide on the best candidates for champion combat or clan destine quests. Yes. So that's actually based on a real Welsh legend, that there's a tree in a church somewhere that whispers people's names that will die that year and join the graveyard in the church graveyard. That's where we got that idea from. I don't remember.
You don't remember what church it is, do you?
No, but I maybe a quick Google would say Welsh church yard predicts deaths. There it is. Angelystor. That was easy. Angelystor. Folklore say villagers in Llanganui, midway between Abergele and Llanrwst, learn their grim fate from a supernatural being under the boughs of a 3,000-year-old yew tree. Each year on Halloween, 31st of July, the Angelystor is said to appear in the medieval church of Llanganui in Conwy, which isn't that far away actually, I don't think. On those dates, it solemnly announces in Welsh the names of the parish members who will die shortly after. According to folklore, one Halloween, a tailor called Sean ap Robert scorned the idea while drinking in a local pub. His fellow drinkers challenged him to visit the church to prove the story groundless. Taking up the challenge, ap Robert made his way to the church, but when he arrived at the door, he heard a deep voice within reciting names, and the first name he heard was his own. Hold, hold, he cried. I'm not ready yet, but ready or not, he died later that year. Just sometime in the year, though. It's not like immediately. The church at Llanganui is itself centuries old, but the site stands on was sacred thousands of years before it was built. The churchyard contains the oldest living thing in Wales, a yew tree which botanists believe to be over 3,000 years old, dating its origins sometimes in the prehistoric Bronze Age. Elsewhere in the churchyard are two standing stones, which would have been raised up by pagans about the same time.
Yeah, that's a fun bit of history.
Yeah.
And also a very metal sounding tree name or area. Angelystor. Digga. That's a fun story. Now here's a thing that we kind of left open, and which we probably won't decide fully on the stream, but it's the question of the calendar that we use
I know.
in Avallen.
Yeah.
So, for example, we talk about every harvest moon. So obviously there are some specific things, but we don't say Halloween because Halloween doesn't exist. In Avallen, right? But a similar sort of festival, harvest festival with spirits does.
Yeah, I think they go by seasons, maybe not so by months, but like seasons. There's spring, bounty, summer. There is some research we can do. I've done it before on like Celtic calendars and things like that, but I don't think there's much evidence to suggest that those calendars that pagans use today are the same as they used back then. I think it's more of like there's an amalgamation of ideas put together. But there are things that we can draw off for sure. Yeah. There's also the old Welsh names for months are actually quite useful, and the Irish names as well for months. That often tell you exactly what they thought was happening in that month, because there is one month that's called like Harvest Month, and one month that's called Cowing Month, and one month that's called Snow Month, basically, and it tells you what kind of activity was most likely during that time period on a farm or something like that, which is really cool. But that is for another stream, for sure.
Yeah. And Zilphia also mentions moons is a good way to do it. Also, we could just do the Zoetic calendar, which is basically just the Gregorian calendar or whatever. But anyway, you're right.
Oh wait, I'm gonna completely derail us because we're talking about moons. Quick. 3 Blue. I'm going to one of my favorite YouTube channels because I'm a science and maths nerd in my spare time. Here's a fantastic video that I recommend everyone watch. God damn it, we've got ads. Let's ignore those. Oh, sorry, everyone can hear that and see it as well. But this is a video which is the kind of thing that I love. A lot of this stuff I know, but I don't know the history of it, which is really fascinating. But this is a video discussing how people learnt the size of objects in space. Like, how did we find out how big the Earth was? How did we find out how big the moon was? How did we find out how far away the moon is from the Earth? How did we find out how big the sun is away from the Earth? Because if you look up at the sky...
The Bible.
Yeah, exactly, the Bible. But we're talking actually literally pre-Bible, or at least the same time as the First Testament's been written, right? So God hadn't even told us yet, right? So had we never God told us. And when you look into space, the moon could be really small and close, or really big and far away. And there's like, how do you find out what it is? And there's this really fascinating period of time in history where the Greeks knew the ratios. They knew that the sun was like 100 times further away from the Earth than the moon was. But they didn't know the distances because they didn't have a distance to plug into the equations. And we had to wait 100 years for one distance to be discovered so then we could plug the rest in and figure out where everything was. And that's so weird and cool. Anyway, this is a fantastic image that people used in ancient times. This is a composite image of the moon during a lunar eclipse. And it shows you the shadow of the Earth on the moon. And that's how you can know that the Earth is round. Before satellite images of the Earth.
And it also gives you an idea of the size ratio, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's how they knew the ratio of the Earth to the moon, and also that both of them are round and things like that.
Dude, that is very cool.
It is, right? So honestly, highly recommend this video. It's only part 1 as well, because part 2 will go into the solar system at large. And then part 3, I think, will do the galaxies. Or maybe part 2 is galaxies, where they will talk about standard candles, which you'll learn all about in the next episode. But yeah, this stuff is really cool. I think it's a really fun, interesting video that talks about history and science. And 3 Blue, 1 Brown, I can shout out again, it's so wonderful because his work is primarily about showing the imagery of things in clear presentations that make it easier to understand. He's very good at creating explanations through imagery, essentially. So yeah, highly recommend this video. It's awesome. Screw it,
very good channel. I put it on occasionally as well. I do like his content. What did I watch from there? I think I watched something about... Did he do one about holograms?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I watched that. He did some about, I think, LLM too. I think.
Yes. Yeah. It's a good one about machine learning. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good
Anyway,
stuff.
so
We
about
love
moons.
3 blue, 1 brown on this channel.
Yes, we do. Okay, Bay of Diatherin. We have mentioned that in one place. This is the bay that separates the Pen Levi tribes. Although not anymore, because the Raxian Empire has now conquered the south of the Bay of Diatherin. So now the Pen Levi are now just sequestered to the one swampland north of it. So that's interesting, at the very least. And I guess that's all we mentioned. So just that the Pen Levi swamps south of the bay were recently conquered by the Raxians. And that also ties into the fact that the other clans didn't come to the Pen Levi's rescue because the Pen Levi had been raiding the other clans, kind of reneged on the treaty obligations. Which is a whole other thing. But yeah.
Now, do you think there are any Pen Levi tribes that still persist in the Buglak?
Oh, that's a fun question, isn't it? You're right, because it's going to be really difficult for the Raxians to root out every Pen Levi tribe here, especially if it's swamp, and especially if they're nomadic, right? It's not like there's a town they can go to and destroy.
And conquer it, yeah.
They've tried by building this fort here to exert control. But you're right, dude. I hadn't considered that before, and it must be true. There has to be some lingering around, right?
Its location upstream from Valonium, so they use it to reinforce stuff. It hosts an auxiliary legion, and Legatus Agricola is renowned as an administrator and opponent in the battlefield, so he does exert quite a bit of influence because he's an effective military leader. But at the same time, I have to imagine that it's a big enough area that tribes will persist there. They'll try to make their way into raiding when they can, when it's opportune and so on.
Yeah,
so,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we say, I guess the Black Buglak has Segontium. I guess that's the same section, technically. Yeah, I guess we should mention Segontium in the Pen Levi section. If we're not doing a whole Raxian section, it should be here instead, right?
Right.
Which is also interesting.
And it's such a...
Mm-hmm.
It's like built in such a shitty area.
Yeah.
Funny. It's like, it must be the worst post for a legionnaire.
Yeah, it's like where you don't want to go. It's that and the wall, right? Because both of them are subject to constant raiding. And there's a really interesting story that happens at the Black Buglak, which we actually tell in the Avallen book from his perspective. The general, what's his name? Arbiter, or at the time he was Legatus Agricola. Basically, the story goes that the Pen Levi were trying to assault the fort that he'd readily built, hastily built, and it seemed like their assault was somewhat suicidal, that they knew that they couldn't possibly win and they were charging to the death, and he wondered why they were doing it anyway. And then he theorized that they were hoping to summon a Mucka Levi. Their intent was to cause as much death as possible, to draw out a Mucka Levi from the Otherworld, to then accost the Raxians with it. Is the conclusion, and I don't know why it didn't work. I don't think he knows, or it wasn't mentioned, but somehow it didn't work. So that was like the Pen Levi's last resort in the Black Buglak, and that's probably why there's so few there now, is because they did this suicide run, basically. And I think that's an interesting idea that we came up with, of humans deliberately trying to draw out the Phaedra by attempting them to vanquish their enemies.
Yeah. It's I mean, maybe they figure they dealt with it before, and so they'll deal with it again if necessary.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. So that means that we'll have a bit of a mention of some Raxian type stuff in our lands.
Mucka Levi. against them. It was more like if we can't have it, you should be able to have it either, but for some reason it didn't work. It did not work. There must be some small communities still living there. So, yeah. Okay, cool. So that's Segontium. That's the Black Boglack. Again, it's just a region, not a place, so there's not much mentioned about it really.
Yep.
And it's kind of free for us to add places. And then the last place on the map is Inistuith, and then we have some places against the Fairy Queen as well. So Inistuith, what is Inistuith? We mentioned it earlier, but we didn't really say what it is.
It is a very fertile island where many high-ranking druids are committed to the Everstranger, and also they train other druids from other tribes because it's so spiritually rich. And they are kind of the leaders of the Valak resistance, the anti-Raxians, so to speak. And it's kind of the spiritual heart of Valakness for a lot of people on the island.
Yeah, it is our version of Anglesey, which I'm embarrassed to say I always forget the Welsh for. I should remember the Welsh name of Anglesey. Inismon, that's right. So ours is Inistuith, and Inismon is Anglesey. And Anglesey is a island off the northwestern coast of Wales, which was said to be the Druidic main grove or concentration of the Welsh and the Welsh resistance to the Romans. And indeed it was sacked and burnt by the Romans in some year, and that kind of ended the Druids' rule in Wales. From then on, really, it did not recover. Yeah, it was a massacre.
Right.
But in Avallen,
it
hasn't happened yet, exactly. And we mentioned that they want to do it, but they can't. So that's for you and your GMs to hash out, essentially, in the wild. Does that happen? And can you stop it?
Also, these druids are actually have magic. So that's the difference.
That might be a difference maker, yeah, exactly. So that's fun, interesting. Okay, so that's everywhere in the book. You gone?
There's also a mention of Inistuith in the book, I think, where Kato, the Senator Kato, is talking about something, and he ends with and also Inistuith must be destroyed.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
And that's a reference to the actual, was it Kato the Elder?
Yeah.
Always mentioning how he wanted to Carthage must be destroyed. So different area, the Carthaginians are different, but it's the same joke. Stolen from antiquity.
And actually we have an illustration of Inistuith now. Would you like to see it? I mean, we've seen it on stream before, and you've seen it before, but as a reminder. Oh, we have it here actually, in the quick start guide. It is this illustration. Well, first of all, it's this one as well, because it's the same illustration. So this is where Queen Daedica called some kind of truce with one of the Raxian generals. I forget which one it is, but this is where the war ended, and that was the diplomatic grounds they chose to meet on, was an Inistuith. And then also there is this illustration as well, is Inistuith as a shrine to all of the gods. But the Everstranger is in the middle, right? That's why he's in the middle. That's why, it's there.
Yeah. So there you go. It's the most fertile and productive island that feeds the druids. Again, the spiritual heart of Pen Levi. Levi. I mean, I imagine they must. Yeah, we'll delve into how productive the agriculture of that island later. But it's not enough to feed all the tribes.
No.
But they must have some kind of bounty.
And then we did mention some new places in Against the Fairy Queen. And again, this is spoilers for people that haven't played it, and this is also the final quest as well. But there are a few places that are introduced. Obviously, Loch Leovan is mentioned. Innis Wish is mentioned. Ruins is mentioned. Black Boglach. The Emerging Penguilgi, which is a whole plot point in the adventure. Right, so nothing's mentioned there. Again, I think it's this issue with the Pen Levi where there's not many actual like locations and sites. It's more just wandering around. So the first part of the adventure is wandering through the swamps. They find a battlefield, but there is 2 definitive locations that they go to. Oh, what? There's a character here called Zephyr. Almost Sylphia. Well, almost. Okay, to Percy. This was a fan-made character from a backer. Within doors that ever strangers can. So, the swamp is a large rock. It's unassuming. So does she name this location? This is mentioned by Zephyr. Sorry, this is me just now checking information.
Under to Percy.
Under where, sorry?
Oh, you're on page 322.
Yeah. This character, Zephyr, gives them the location. Oh, here she is. If the heroes accept Zephyr's offer, she tells them to travel 2.5 days northeast here. There's a great rock where Perky the Starborn calls home. So the rock isn't even named. Damn it. There's no name for that rock. So
there's a great rock.
But I mean, we could call it Perky's Rock. Although,
Rock, sure.
I do feel weird about this. So here's a question that to be had. So obviously someone generously gave us more money than they needed to have the character feature in our book, right? For Against the Fairy Queen. And then I've always wondered, now those characters are characters in the world, do we carry them forward? And like, I could name that rock Perky's Rock and it features on the map, but it feels like that's more than was bargained for, you know, and maybe we should move on to other things that's just a feature of this book. Or it's a place now, and so we add it, and that's it going forward. But then this character then gets more prominence because then they feature on the map where other people's characters don't, you know? So that's unfair. So that's a reason not to do it. Any instinct on that?
My instinct says to not worry about that so much because you can't control what inspires you, and if you want to take it further, that's your prerogative as a creator, I think.
Yeah. Another part of it, though, is that if we put it on the map, that means it's easier to find, right? Like, this isn't a place that should be on a map. It's a place that you find out from this one elder who knows
I wouldn't... I would just keep that to the adventurers. Yeah. As a general rule, I wouldn't worry about taking a character further up if it speaks to you and you're like, oh, this is a cool character that we should develop more, and I think that's okay. But in this specific instance, yes, I don't think you have to worry about...
and there's another thing
it on the map.
Yeah, so I was right in that there are locations in the Against the Fairy Queen adventure that are interesting and important, but the whole point of the adventure is finding people that then know where those locations are, because they're so strange, mysterious, and wonderful that they aren't on any maps, right? So this is called the Stranger's Mound. This is a sacred location that only appears during certain times and under certain circumstances and through certain rituals. So I just feel like it shouldn't be on the map, you know? So.
No. I think that's fair. We can still mention them in passing.
Yeah.
If for completeness sake, if you think we need to, for things that are more notable, but definitely because they're part of the adventure, you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, you're right.
About
we can mention them, but we don't put them on the map. Yeah.
Yeah. Where whenever it's appropriate.
Yeah. So. Finding which the entrance. Yeah. So what do they say about the Stranger's Mound then? What is said about it? Maybe I'll look this up another time. A strange tomb, Candle Mound tells them stars will sing a song. It's a fun game here that I added it to the thing. It's a mini game that I am quite proud of, but we don't need to go through it now. He tells them about it. I'm still through buzzing about a strange tomb. So what? I'm not sure what we say about what it is. Maybe there isn't much known to know about it is. Okay, that's fine then. Legendary location related to the Ever Ranger and his ascension. That's all there is to know about it, and its location is only known to the wisest of Pen Levi. And then I guess we need to, if we do mention this kind of place, we need to kind of spill the secrets that are given in against the Fairy Queen, but it's only in the GM part of the book, obviously.
Right.
Because this is like where the climax of the Against the Fairy Queen takes place. So
that's right. That could still be. We could just mention it as a small secret for completeness sake if we feel the need to.
Yeah.
But because GMs can already discover it in Space Seeker's Guide, we don't need to. Fairy Queen.
Yeah.
We don't have to belabor it.
Cool. All right. So that is everywhere in the Pen Levi lands, and again, not many definitive locations. More just regions that might have stuff. And I guess the real emptiness is the Aired Barrens. There's nothing happening there at all. We have nothing for it. And maybe we do want to add some other locations or places of environmental interest to the Pen Levi. I don't know if we want to discuss ideas now or just leave it there. Yeah. Has anything come to you while we've been talking? Things that you think that aren't there that we probably should want to have that just sound cool to you?
I mean, something that we do establish with, even though the Pen Levi are nomadic, we've established that there are people that are stationary that are willing to rough it out and stick with an area, such as Loch Levan. In theory, you could have a training outpost at Aired Barrens, or temporary. I don't know, something that's not necessarily super permanent.
Yeah.
But one has to imagine that there might be enterprising.
I'm gonna cut you off just because that already kind of exists since Kuin and Shinshir, right? Like that's kind of what that place does.
Okay, so then it's not really necessary in the Aired Barrens. Okay, so it's just a vast barrens where the nomadic tribes eat the grass, hope it grows back and comes back, and try. And
I guess we just mentioned the idea of ruins being there, right? Primarily, perhaps. I guess a good place to find ruins.
Yeah, but it's essentially a desert-like space, and then there might be an interesting structure lost in the middle of it.
Yeah. Okay, well maybe that's fine. I guess maybe the Pen Levi are more interesting in their culture than their locations, and there's still some interesting locations. But there's enough to talk about.
Yeah. But as we keep writing, I'm sure, and researching, I'm sure things will come up.
Yeah. I guess
it always does.
Yeah, I guess maybe we're thinking about it wrong, because when we talk about the other clans, obviously, do the Pen's Dyke, we talk about Cairnmon's Talog and Cairnmon's Enna, and these are locations that then hold peoples, and that's of interest. Whereas we probably need to talk about the kind of we need an excuse to talk about the tribes, that live here, exactly, and the ways of life. Yeah,
exactly, and that's 100% what we're doing, especially with the faction / Avallen secret section, which we'll be fleshing.
So maybe it should be I should just mention here. Tribes that live here and how do they do it, essentially. And that's under the Law of Bends, and then the Bay of Yatharin for the coastal peoples, coastal folk, obviously in Istul, and then the Aired Barrens, wherever that is. As well as the Black Boglach, and what happened to those people, and the really small communities that kind of live there now. Yeah. All right, cool. And that's it then. Stop there. So we went on long today. I guess we like talking about Levi.
Yeah, we like talking about stuff. This is some good work. I do have to wake up early tomorrow because I have to go to immigration to take care of some immigration stuff. But before we do, in honor of the Pen Levi, we should raid someone. Is that what we want to do? Don't we want to?
Yes.
Do we want to go?
I told you I was going to forget. Yeah, we were going to raid someone.
Now, how do we raid? Because this is our first time doing it, so we're gonna do a raid. I don't know.
So I am going on to Twitch. I guess I can do that on stream here. I'll go to Dungeons and Dragons category, and then we need to pick someone. Maybe not the one that has sexual themes. And then I have to do something in the chat here. I type in / raid, and then I don't know how to do it exactly. There's squared brackets there, so I'll do that. Anyway, we don't really have many to choose from, actually. Look how barren our location is. We have some people speaking in German. We have a replay that may contain sexual themes. Everyone else has one view. Is anyone making anything? Is this guy making a map? Are they map making? That could be fun if they're map making.
Wait, do we have to stream in Dungeons and Dragons, or can we go to like a different topic?
We can go to a different topic, but
I'm okay with staying here if you think it's...
Yeah, I think we should say hello to our neighbours, you know what I mean? I'm going to see what they're up to. I think... Are they making a map?
That's fun. Oh, no, this is Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, we can pay a visit.
Yeah, okay. Fine, I've chosen them. But I don't know how to do it, so I think I have to type in their channel names. I'm just going to copy and paste it here and see what happens.
Zilphia said that Yoshino Art is an awesome creator.
Oh, that's someone on there already? Yoshino Art. I don't see them. Is that might be a different category then, I suppose.
And if that's someone who's live on a different channel, but our Twitch.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it here, if that's alright. Okay, in that case then, I'm saying goodbye for us now. She's going right now, but she's usually doing art. Okay. Cool, then we say goodbye, Kurt. And then I click this button, and in theory, we get taken there.
Alright. Oh, I see. Debbie said, well, we're going to visit a neighbor. Please join us. Debbie says she's gaming right now, but she's usually doing art. I see. Yeah. So we're going to visit... Who are we visiting?
Nocturnal Crook, which is a great name, to be fair.
Alright, Nocturnal Crook. Great. Thanks, Zilphia.
Yeah, with all four of our viewers.
We'll be back. Same Valak time, same Valak channel.
Alright, I'm clicking the button. See what happens. Bye, guys. Take care.
Alright.
Invalid username. So that didn't work. But I copy and pasted it. Okay, I'll do it again without square brackets. I think maybe that was the issue. / raids and then that. Okay, what was that? Yes, it's worked.
Alright.
It says ready to raid, and then do I click a button? No, it says 2 ready raids, nocturnal in 5 seconds. Okay, it's all two viewers apparently.
Alright, let's do it.
Okay, bye.
We're gonna double their viewership.
Yeah, right.
Even triple their viewership. Let's do it.
There you go. Hello.
Party of 2.
Neighbor.
Hey.